First lesson for this, the 21st Sunday after Pentecost, is called by some the Song of the Suffering Servant. It's written by the prophet Isaiah many years before Jesus, but is believed to be a prophecy of Jesus' suffering and death. Surely he has borne our pain and borne our suffering. Yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. We all like sheep have gone astray. Each has turned to his own way. And the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was like a lamb led to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. Yet who of his generation protested? He was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was punished. He was assigned a grave with the wicked, and with the rich at his death, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. And though the Lord makes his life an offering for sin, he will see his offspring and prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand. After he has suffered, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many, and he will bear their iniquities. Therefore I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death, and was numbered with the transgressors. For he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. Here ends the first lesson. The psalm this morning is a portion of Psalm 91. Please turn to page 258. Actually, 259. And we'll read verses 9 through 16 responsively. I'll read the odd number verses. You read the even. Because you have made the Lord your refuge, and the Most High your habitation, there shall no evil happen to you, neither shall any plague come near your dwelling. For he has given his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. They will bear you in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and adder. You shall trample the young lion and the serpent under your feet. Because he is bound to me in love. Therefore will I deliver him. I will protect him because he knows my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I am with him in trouble. I will rescue him and bring him to honor. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. One of the jobs a minister has is to serve as priest, which means on behalf of the people, I offer sacrifice to God. But in the name of God, I announce his word to the people. We have a long line of priestly characters in the Bible, but the greatest of them all is described in the book of Hebrews, and that's Jesus. For the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 5, verses 1 through 10. Every high priest chosen from among mortals is put in charge of things pertaining to God on their behalf, to offer gifts and sacrifices for sins. He is able to deal gently with the ignorant and the wayward, since he himself is subject to weakness. And because of this, he must offer sacrifice for his own sins, as well as for those of the people. And one does not presume to take this honor, but takes it only when called by God, just as Aaron was. So also Christ did not glorify himself in becoming a high priest, but was appointed by the one who said to him, "You are my son. Today I have begotten you." As he says also in another place, "You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek." In the days of flesh, Jesus offered up prayers and supplications with loud cries and tears to the one who was able to save him from death. And he was heard because of his reverent submission. Although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered. And having been made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation for all who obey him, having been designated by God a high priest, according to the order of Melchizedek. Here is the second lesson. A football coach was talking to one of his recruiters, and he was talking about the kind of player he wanted the recruiter to get. And he said to him, "I suppose you're going to find football players who get hit hard and get knocked down. I don't want that kind of player." And the recruiter said, "Well, what about the player who gets hit hard, knocked down, and get up again?" And the coach said, "I don't want that player either." The recruiter said, "Well, what about the player who gets hit hard and knocked down over and over again and still keeps getting up?" And the coach said, "I don't want that player either." So in frustration, the recruiter said, "What kind of player do you want?" And the coach said, "I want the man who knocks the other guy down." Such is our concept of greatness in our society. And in the Bible, people with wealth, people with power, were considered to be great. There are two words here in this lesson that are important for us. One is the word diakonos, which means servant. And if you remember, in our Lutheran church, we have people who serve in the capacity of a deacon or a deaconess. That's the origin of that title. But Jesus doesn't want us just to become servants, because even in biblical times, the idea of a king serving his people was common. No, Jesus calls us doulos, slave. It's a job nobody wants. Yet it's the same job that Jesus performed the night before he died when he washed his disciples' feet. And in our gospel lesson for today, Jesus points out to us that those who wish to be great must become a servant to all. It's very reminiscent of the lesson we had 2 weeks ago, where Jesus said we must become like children in order to enter the kingdom. We rise to the good news of the gospel. This is the gospel according to Mark, the 10th chapter, beginning at the 35th verse.
Glory to you, O Lord.
James and John, sons of Zebedee, came forward to him and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." And he said to them, "What is it you want me to do for you?" And they said to him, "Grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left in your glory." But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" They replied, "We are able." Then Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink you will drink, and with the baptism with which I was baptized, you will be baptized. But to sit at the right hand or my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared." When the 10 heard this, they began to be angry with James and John. So Jesus called them and said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles Those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you must become your servant. And whoever wishes to be first among you must be slave of all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Please be seated. We'll sing the